All right, my name is Kylon Gustin. I'm with a company here in town actually called Volacci, and we are a digital marketing company, and we recently launched our first product. It's a marketing automation tool called Automator. I'm not here to talk about it, but I just want to give that little plug. 4 o'clock tomorrow, Ben Finkley, our CEO, will be giving a presentation on marketing automation, so you might want to check it out. I'm going to go to the next slide just so that you can find that link there. I started with Volacci about 2.5 years ago, coming in as in sales. And one of the things that I was really astounded by, not surprised, but was that when I was talking to our potential customers and our new customers, and if you ask them, do you have a marketing plan for your website, they'd say no. And probably, and I've been even with some larger companies, and they don't even have a marketing plan. And so I thought, all right, we want to have a marketing plan that we can actually help our clients develop that is not the all-encompassing marketing plan, but the one specifically for their website or for their digital presence. And so I thought, well, I'll just go look for a template, find something out there. And I searched and searched online and couldn't find anything. Well, my background before coming to Volacci was in the business planning, marketing planning, strategic planning world. So we decided I'll just write a template. And so we actually created a template, and it's on the website right there. And that's the free version. There is a paid version, but if you come up to me after the presentation and you want and you'd like to get the full guided version, in fact, it'll either be in a Word, just specify if you want it in a Word or a Mac Pages format. I'll actually send you that. It's actually editable, and it's got more information in it than this one does in terms of guidance. So we call it our guided plan. So, so what I want to do is talk about not the whole marketing plan, but just what you need to think about when marketing your website. So the question that you first have to look at is, what are you trying to achieve with your website? And as a developer, the reason you really want to be here and the reason that this is important is you develop a great website for your client, and they put it out there and they don't have a strategy for drawing traffic to it. Now, there's obviously some websites that are simply an information site that when that person goes out, hands out their business card, they want a www on there so that people can see that they're legit and so forth. So they're not really trying to market the website. But if you're working with clients that they really need to drive traffic to their website, they really need to be thinking about, how do I do that? And it's better if they've thought it through. Plus, if it's in a larger company, they can often get greater budget for their marketing if they have a plan, if they have a strategy in place. So the first thing you have to look at is, what are the objectives? What are you trying to achieve with our website? So the 3 primary objectives could be, and then we're going to talk about them, you can see the blue track at the bottom, is their image, their, what value is their website providing their customers, and how closely is the website actually aligned with their business model. So let's look at the, how you want people to perceive your organization. So the key factors are, you got to make a good first impression. Now, by the way, I'm going through what is in the marketing plan, and there's a series of videos that if you'll email me, that my email address will be at the end. I've already got 5 videos put together. These are whiteboard presentations, and I've got 1 more to do. And as soon as all 6 are together, they're going to be going through a lot of the same things I'm doing here, but it's probably grouped together it's definitely more than 45 minutes worth. So I'm going to try and go through this fairly quickly, a lot more rapidly than I would in explanation on the video. The other thing you have to do is you really have to know your market and what their preference points are. And we're going to delve into these in a little bit more when we talk about buyer personas and that type of thing. So the next question is, what is the value that your website is bringing to your visitors? So for some, if your website is appealing to a very specific industry, you're going to have industry-specific information. It's a resource that they can go to get valuable information. Even if you're selling something, your industry-specific website really should be promoting something for the industry. And I say yours, and you just have to interpret it as for your specific client, that type of thing. It could be that your website's providing timely content or educational info, or it's a unique experience. It's actually a site that's very functional, and it allows somebody to do something that most websites don't provide them to do. On Volacci.com, we put out a piece of content every single day, and it's because our market is specifically the marketing directors or somebody in that role within the organization. We're trying to put out content that is of interest to the marketing people. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, all the content that was being put out was something that somebody interested in SEO would want to read. Well, we're not really selling to SEO people, we're selling to marketing people, so we changed the strategy of the content that we put out, so we had relevant and timely content for them. So the other question you have to look at is how well is the website helping to achieve your business objectives. So you've got the marketing, it could be a marketing sales, so it's generating leads. It can be used for promotional purposes. It could be a sales site where you're actually like an e-commerce site. Like I said earlier, it could be a very functional site, like Facebook is a functional site, and or it could just strictly be informational, like we talked about before. So now you have to look at defining your target market. Now I do want to preface another preface here, and that is the way that the business plan or the marketing plan is structured is you say, here's what I'm going to tell you, here's what I'm telling you, and here's what I just got done telling you. So this is all kind of almost like an executive summary, kind of leading up to the actual marketing strategy, which is again part of this presentation. But you've got to look at, you really have to understand who is it that's a potential buyer. So I told you earlier about Volacci, and our potential buyer really is the marketing person, not the kind of the technical SEO person. Then you've got to look at what are their objectives and how well is your website and what it's presenting aligned with what their true objectives are, as well as looking at, is my website really satisfying those. So the next thing you have to do is find your ideal customer. So about a year and a half ago, Volacci, we went through a 2-day process. Well, actually it was several weeks, but it could have been done in 2 full days. But of really understanding who our ideal customers were. So we actually sat down and said, who are the customers that we provided the most value for over the last several years? Who are the ones that felt like they got the most value from us? Who stuck around the most? Who spent the most money with us? And then we just kept filtering it down, creating column after column of information about all of these customers. And we then finally narrowed it down based upon the ones that stayed around the most, spent the most, and were the happiest with us. We understood who our ideal customers were. We stopped selling to the non-ideal customers and started only focusing and selling on the ideal customers. So that's a process that really we could spend hours talking about this and how you go about doing that, but it's a good process for you to go through. Then you also have to understand who the decision makers are within the organization. So finding the ideal decision maker, what we did at Volacci is we brought in our IMCs, or our Internet Marketing Coordinators, and these are the front line, the people that are dealing with the customers on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, and we asked them, tell us about your customers, tell us anything you can. We went through all kinds of demographic information and who these people were and so forth, and it really helped us to understand who the decision maker was in the organization. So now you've got the ideal customer or company, and then the decision maker within that organization. So now the target market or the company tells you how you should market, meaning the channels that you need to market your website through, and then the decision maker tells you the messaging that you should be using. So again, at Volacci, our messaging changed completely because we realized our decision maker and our customers weren't the SEO people within an organization or the technical people, it was the marketing people. All right, so the question also is, how heavily does your target market depend on the internet? How technical savvy are they? If you're selling something that is geared towards somebody in their 80s, 70s or 80s, they're not going to be technically savvy. So you've got to really understand the technology and the level of complexity that your website really needs to have in terms of your target market and adjust that accordingly. The other thing is there some non-internet objectives or opportunities available to your potential customers? So if you're selling dental products, for example, very traditionally, that is sold through a market rep who goes around to all the dentists and sells them their products. And now you come out with a website that's got dental products. You can still have a great opportunity in the market, but you have to understand that the market is traditionally used to the sales rep coming to them. What other options are there? There's, like I said, the direct or local sales. There could be some industry-specific options. So this is more of a competitive factor to think about, but you also have to understand when they're coming to your website, what other alternatives do they have, and how are you going to address those and combat those on your website. Now, the decision process. There's some industries or multiple industries that have very similar decision process, but you really need to think about what is the cycle that they go through in making their purchase decision, and how well does your website satisfy each one of these steps in their decision-making process. This is where content is really, this is one area where content is very critical. Do you have content that helps them along each stage of that process, and are you delivering that content to them through that cycle? The marketing automation platform that I was talking about before, it can be very helpful in delivering timely and relevant content based upon what cycle that your prospects are in their decision process. So content is key here, and how well, again, is your website providing that? Competitors. Now, you've all, well, many of you have heard of a SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's a very traditional thing that you're going to see in a regular marketing plan. When I put this together, I thought, well, what are the things that are most critical from a website perspective in terms of how you want to evaluate yourself against your competition? So, look at their size and how much they're investing in the market and so forth. And then I put together just a real simple grid of things you should consider. So you've got, list your competitors out, and then the last one you need to make sure is that you're analyzing your competitor. I'm not expecting you to read all this right now, but a lot of times people will say, well, I've got hundreds of competitors. The first thing you need to do is think about who the primary competitor, one or two competitors that you run up against on a regular basis, and list their attributes on how competitive they are. Are they investing heavily? Are they well funded? Are there, that type of thing? And then you're going to have, hundreds maybe of other types of businesses that you could just kind of group together and look at their attributes, and then be very objective about your website. Well, we kind of have a medium competitive. We've been in this industry quite a few years and so forth, but we haven't really invested a whole lot, especially in our digital presence. Maybe we need to think about that. We come across companies all the time that are probably the most well-known brand in their niche industry, yet there's the young guns come along and they got this great slick website. They're at the top of the search engines. They're doing all kinds of social media, and I'll just say the old guys are saying, they're scratching their heads saying, we've got to do something about this because we are the ones that own this industry. We've owned it for years, and we're better at it than anybody else. And they don't want the young guys to win out. So you have an opportunity to help the established companies to really develop a competitive website if they really think through all these factors. And then the value proposition. What is it that's unique about each one of these that they can say, this is what's unique about us, this is the value that we provide that nobody else really does provide. All right, so then you have to look at how much is each competitor and yourself investing in your website or in your digital presence. This marketing plan is mostly focused on the website marketing as opposed to your entire marketing strategy. I do touch on social media, which you'll see in a little bit, but when I say website, it's because that's what this plan is mostly focused on. A social media strategy is a whole nother animal, and we're actually working on a document for that as well, and then I've got some other ideas. So how much are they promoting their website? Both, when I say natural, I think about SEO and more the organic side of things and paid. And what is their appearance, and do they have any extra functionality? So here's another grid where we look at promotion, appearance, and functionality. Again, advertising, promotion of their website. Are they at the top of the search engines? Are they advertising heavily in search? That's something that's easy to see, but also are they doing remarketing, that type of thing? We got a section we're going to talk about in a minute on online or paid advertising. So then the appearance, is it a really polished website, or is it kind of simple? Sometimes clean is clean is always really good, but it could be that it just looks old. So how competitive are they? How much are they really investing in their digital presence? And these are the kind of things, this last grid and this one, that I think are the most relevant things to consider when analyzing yourself and your competition. All right, so on the natural side, SEO is a great opportunity. I'm not sure I use this particular grid all the time, but basically it's an opportunity for you to look at your rankings on your keywords for yourself and each of your competitors. And of course you want to find keywords that are relevant. This is pretty basic, I'm sure you all know this, but you'd be really surprised how many times even your customers might come to you and say, well, we want to rank on these 4 keywords. Where's Nathan? Nathan did some analysis for me on some keywords that a prospective client said, these are the ones that are important to us. And it comes back and like they get searched on 170 times. And when they didn't even realize that. And so we said, well, yeah, these are nice keywords, but they don't get searched. And I didn't even have to say it. They just saw 170 times, and they said, well, these aren't any good. And I said, yeah, I know. And that's where we can help you, as we can find the ones that are the most relevant. So you need to guide your customers and your clients and let them know, what's the most important things for them. But so these are things you've probably seen. What page of search am I on is .com is a tool that you can use to see where you're ranking right now on a keyword, and it's very unbiased. Now it kind of breaks every once in a while, but Google.
It's actually broken for good now.
Is it broken for good? I just tried it yesterday or the other day, but yeah,
I haven't gotten it to work in like 6 months or something.
Yeah, so it's Google's been penalizing tools that do that kind of thing. The other thing to keep in mind is when your client says, well, I'm on page 1 at the top of page 1 for my terms, but we're still not getting any traffic. Kind of an interesting thing is have them call a friend and ask them to search for that same keyword and see where they show up. It's probably going to be different, because as soon as if you're logged into Google through Gmail or some other means, it's going to rank you higher. And this is, again, basic for most of you, but you'd be surprised how many of your customers wouldn't even think of that, or have them log out and then do a search, and they'd be surprised at what they're really ranking. All right, so so now you have to look at how much are each of them, really investing in SEO or in their search engines. Now, a lot of this stuff up here is dealing with rankings. We have changed that quite a bit at Volacci. We've got a whole team here that all but one of them wasn't here within 6 to 8 months ago. Over the last year, we've totally rebuilt our team. We have reduced almost to nothing, and soon nothing, right, Mitch? Our outsourced team that used to do those traditional directory submission and 3-way link buildings. It was great. 2 years ago, we could bring on a client, we'd optimize their website, and then we'd just turn the switch on and turn link building on, and there was a lot of strategy involved in it, but our clients would raise to the top. It doesn't work that way anymore. So, and we've seen that, and we saw the writing on the wall with Google, with the Penguin and Panda updates, and we rebuilt and we retooled our entire team of content people, social media, strategic link building, some more technical people on the SEO side, very strategic in the way that we go about working with our clients, because you just can't do things the way you did anymore. And it's much more rewarding for us, and we're getting the results we need to for our clients, because it's very content driven. But still, this is one way to see, have they been investing in their website. Another way now is to do a much more deep content analysis. I got Chris back there, who's my content king in terms of doing analysis on competition for each of our clients. So, all right, so as far as the marketing of the website, now we're actually going to be talking about some very specific strategic marketing things. And what you have to do is look at, what am I currently doing on my website? What am I planning on doing? And what could I do? What would I love to do if I just had the budget to do anything I wanted to? And by putting a plan together, you might actually get that budget if you actually show a strategy and show what you see the perceived results or that could come out of that. All right, so we're going to look at two paths, the natural side and the paid side. So on the natural side, there's of course SEO, there's content, there's social media, guest blogging, and press releases. We're going to talk about each of these down here. So what level of resources are you planning on off-page and on-page SEO? So on the off-page, you've got link building, you've got content, and the content distribution, and there's great ways of getting your content out there that then in turn turns into links back to your site and actually drives traffic, immediate traffic back to your site, whereas the old style of link building, it would help your rankings, but it never really drove traffic from the links. It just helped you in your rankings. So now we view rankings instead of the be-all and end-all of digital marketing. We view it as one component that helps drive traffic to your website. And then you've got the on-page SEO, where there's the site architecture, and I've got people in this room that could talk much more detailed about it. This is not an SEO class or session. This is a marketing plan, marketing strategy session. But those are the types of things that still actually work, and you need to do those. But there's just a whole new way that we go about doing it. And then I don't expect to read all this. I'm not going to read it all to you. But there's a lot of other factors to consider. When it comes to SEO, there's no silver bullet. It's thousands, hundreds at least, of things, and there's a lot of different things that we do for our clients based upon what they need. If they have news on their site and they're not showing up in Google News, we're going to make sure that that happens. If they got products that are not showing up and with image searches and on product searches, then we're going to help them. If they got video, we're going to help optimize those. So there's a lot of different things. There's no silver bullet for SEO. All right, so now we're looking at the content distribution and development and production. And content hang on just a second. Content traditionally is thought of as written words. But we have a list of, 50 plus different types of content that you could use on and off your website to drive traffic and help increase your natural SEO and natural traffic. And here's just a few of them here. Case study. These are all mostly written stuff. Curation is something that's really cool. How many in here know what content curation is? Okay, I got a dozen hands or so. Well, most of the team over here. So there's some blogs on our website about content curation. I think you might be really interested in that. But it's a great way of getting content on your site every day without having to go through the whole original thought process of thinking about what am I going to write about and then what am I going to say and all that. But it's a great way of getting content on your website. The other thing to keep in mind from a social standpoint is every time you put a piece of content on your site, whether it's written or video or some other ways, make sure you distribute that. And the way you can distribute it is just go out to all the social networks that you have and post links back to your content so that you're driving value, not only from a SEO standpoint, but also direct traffic, driving eyeballs back to your content, because people may not come to your website every day. So they need to know that there's some new content out there. All right, so then there's the social aspect. My social expert's over here, and I'm going to bring Lee up right now. No, just kidding. But this is where I was talking about before. We're putting together a whole new entire social marketing plan. It's going to be much more kind of like slideshow presentation oriented versus kind of a written document, which is what the current marketing plan template is. But that's so critical, and that's why we've expanded our team there and continuing to expand. All right, so what about guest blogging? Well, there's two kind of options. One is go out and find somebody who has a really good high clout score, who is an industry expert and has a great following of people, and get them to write a blog on your website. Because what are they going to do once they post that blog? They're going to go and they're going to tweet about it. They're going to get a lot of their eyeballs that are already coming and following them directly to your website. It's a great opportunity for that. The other one is to guest blog on other sites. There used to be a way for you to do blog commenting and so forth, and then you just subtly put a link back to your site. That's not really cool, and it doesn't even work anymore. So the other one is to actually go out and find other websites that are looking for good content, and you write content that they would be interested in. Of course, these are non-competing sites, but you guest blog on their site. Then any links that you have within that content back to your site are good links and helps with rankings and drives eyeballs immediately back to your site. And then, of course, press releases. Vocus is a tool that you can use to distribute press releases in a very effective way. There's other tools, or you could just, there are some free press release sites, and those are still good. But in terms of, press releases and what they do, they get the word out about what you're doing, and there's some link value in that. And you should put out a press release every week. I don't care, or every month. Whether you think you have something to say or not, you need to figure out how you can promote what your company's doing. There's always something unique going on within your organization, and you can still put out a press release. All right, so now we're going to talk about the paid attraction. The latest video, the whiteboard video that I put out was this week, and it was on paid attraction. And again, I wasn't trying to go in and educate you completely on online or paid advertising, but it's kind of a good overview, and it definitely needs to be a part, or at least a consideration, for your marketing strategy. So, so from paid, you've got the search engine marketings, which is where you pay to get your ad showing up on the top of Google or over on the right-hand side of the search results. Contextual advertising, we're going to talk about each one of these, even email advertising. Not email marketing, but email advertising. So, the things to consider is, if I want to outsource this, what are the management fees to get that outsourced, and why would I want to do that? Well, if you're not an expert in online advertising, you probably want to at least get somebody to get you started on it and get you set up, because the problem is you can blow a month's worth of budget in one day if you just flip the switch the wrong way. So you've got to really keep that in mind. What tools am I going to use to kind of monitor what's going on and track if it's working well? Ad costs, that type of thing. So here's an example of a paid ad. So what are the things that are critical? Well, the first thing to keep in mind is what's called a Google Quality Score. And it will determine how much you're going to pay based upon the position that you're in. So the one at the top might be paying $1.50 to be at the very top, and you're paying $2 to be somewhere over on the right. Well, why is that? Well, that ad or that company has a higher quality score than you do. And the things that determine that is the ad copy, how relevant is it to the keyword that you're advertising for, the landing page that it goes to after they click on it, and also what is the click-through rate? Do you get a lot of clicks to it? Google, they only make money when somebody clicks on the ad. So if you've got an ad that for whatever reason, even though it looks like a great ad, isn't driving anybody to your landing page, they're not getting paid, so your quality score is going to go down. So those are things that's continuous monitoring, has to do with the relevancy and that type of thing. So the other thing then to consider is contextual advertising. You've all been on a website, and then you read down, and then halfway down there's something that kind of looks like an ad, but kind of looks like maybe it's not an ad and you're not sure, but it says Google Ads in really light, small print. That's a contextual ad. Well, what's so great about that? Well, first of all, the people that are reading the content on that page, they're already interested in that subject. They didn't even necessarily search for it. They just happen to be on a page that has to do with something that is relevant to what you're advertising about. And the other thing is you're not waiting for them to do a search. So they're already interested in the subject, and you're not waiting until they just might happen to do a search for the keyword that you're looking for. So always test. I mean, when we do marketing SEM for folks, it's more than just testing which ones give us the best click-through rate. We're also looking at the different types of advertising that you can do, and it's very surprising in some industries which ones produce the greatest value. Display advertising, as you've seen, the banner ads on the top and the right, these can be pay-per-click, or they can be you pay based upon the CPM rate, which is cost per thousand. So there's a lot of things to look at there. There's the geographic location. You can advertise to mobile. Remarketing. This is a really cool tool. If a lot of you are probably already familiar with it, but for those that aren't, if you've ever been on a website, so you go to Tom's Shoes, and then you leave that website and you start going to other websites, and you see these Tom's Shoes ads all over the place. It's like, wow, these people advertise a ton. Well, they're really not. They're doing what's called remarketing, because they placed a tag or a cookie on your computer, on your browser, and they're following you around, and whenever they have an opportunity to place an ad, they're going to show an ad to you, and they're remarketing to you. So it's a great tool. Some people think it's kind of creepy, but that's okay. There's a lot of creepy things about marketing, I guess, but but you can also control how many impressions that ad gets for that particular person, and then turn it off after they don't click through after a certain period of time or a certain number of impressions. All right, so then there's the partner or affiliate marketing or advertising. This is, first of all, is only really valuable, at least in what I've looked at, for B2C or very consumer-related products. So, and usually not high-dollar products either. But this is where other websites that will advertise or promote your product link back to your website, and usually you have an e-commerce site. It could be a lead. You could have a lead-generating website as well, but you pay them based upon how many products you sell as a referral fee, as a referral to them or from them. And there's companies out there that will monitor all that for you and put all that in place, and there's a fee, of course, that you pay. But if you have a consumer-related product, this kind of thing, this partner or affiliate advertising or marketing, is something that you really should consider. And then, of course, there's the email advertising. And this is, you've gotten it where you get a newsletter every week or every day. You get something every day, and there's some ads in there. And, of course, you don't mind them because you get this email for free, and it's got information in it that you're interested in. Well, the great thing about that is that usually these are very industry-specific, very topic-specific. They're opt-in, they're display, mostly text ads, but they can be displays. But most people check their email every day. So you have an opportunity to get your ad in front of them on a regular basis. You can, depending on the size of the list, reach a very substantial size, and it's pretty easy to track that. And you can do some geo-targeting, and that's the other thing about any of your advertising is consider geo-targeting. It's a great way to test certain areas and keep your budget smaller while still testing on a variety of different keywords and that type of thing. All right, so now we're going into lead nurturing, which really is one aspect of marketing automation. So the great thing about lead nurturing is it helps you get a whole lot more value from your website. Now, if you have no traffic, it's really not going to do you much good. But it definitely is very helpful from the perspective of getting the most value out of the traffic that you get. Let me see what time. Okay, so Google Analytics, let's talk about that for a second, is a great tool. Any kind of analytics that's looking at your website is great. But it's looking at your traffic and the visitors from about a 10,000-foot view. You can tell what pages are most, that people visit the most, which ones they stay on the most, bounce rate based upon keywords and so forth. But it's a very high-level view. We use that analytics data with our clients. But when you can actually determine what individuals do on your website from start to finish on an individual by individual basis, you're going to glean a lot more information from an analytics standpoint, and you're able to message to them at a much more personal level. So conversions is another big thing to consider. You can have all the traffic you want to your website, but if they're not doing what you want them to when they get to your website, that's not helping you very much. So user experience is very important. So you need to have a strategy that's designed to increase the number of leads. This is real basic stuff, but it's got to be part of your marketing strategy, the A/B testing and all that kind of stuff. You need to make sure that if it's not part of your plan, you may never end up doing it. So that's why it's important to be in here. Then there's the measurement. Google Analytics, I mentioned that. And so in the A/B testing, you've got to measure what people are doing, why they're doing what they're doing, and what's working and what's not. We do A/B testing all the time. I've heard Visual Website Optimizer mentioned earlier this morning. It's a great tool where you can do some A/B testing without having to reprogram your site in any way. And it also helps you figure out all the future things that you're going to do on your website. So the last thing here is the resource requirements. You know, you've got to consider how much expertise do I have in-house, how much is going to be required to complete and implement my marketing strategy, what are the overhead costs. If I have to hire a team of people to come in and do all this, then I've got to manage them, and that's a pain. Of course, I'm giving a little bit of a pitch for Volacci here as to why you would want to outsource your marketing services. There's economies of scale when you outsource and so forth. But anyway, those are the things to consider. In terms of you know, where to go from here, if you would like a copy of the guided marketing plan, just email me or bring me your card, and then I will get that to you. And I'll also send you a link. We're going to put together a page that's got all 6 of the videos that cover everything I've talked about, but in individuals, you know, that's broken down, and there's a little more depth that I go into in each of those, and anything else, any other resources that we might have. And if you're interested in, say, the social marketing plan, once we have it put together, ask me about that as well. So, do we have any questions? That's a sure sign that I've bored the crap out of you. So, all right. Well, I really wasn't sure how long it was going to take to do this, so I tried to talk as fast as I could. But if there's any questions that you have afterwards, feel free to come up. So, thank you very much.